I wanted you to share a little bit about yourself and why this journey, why etiquette, why protocol.
Why etiquette and protocol? It all started around 11 years ago. I had a full-time job, an office job, and I wanted something more interactive, more people-centered. I used to work with documents and policies and the Ministry of Higher Education, and it was too rigid and heavy.
Welcome back to Pivot Mode, where we unpack the moments that challenge us, shape us, and transform the way we live, lead, and show up in the world, so we can leave a better blueprint for Gen Z and the generations that follow. I'm your host, Valerie Destin, and today's conversation is one you won't want to miss. As you know, on Pivot Mode, I like to begin each episode with a quote that aligns with the topic of discussion, and in doing so, I came across the perfect one. Success is not determined solely by the intentions. It is shaped by the signals you send and the perceptions you leave behind. Today's guest is someone who has built an extraordinary career around a truth we often overlook. How we are perceived can shape opportunities, relationships, and the way we move through the world. Joining us is Israa Shaheen, an etiquette and protocol expert, international speaker, trainer, and consultant who has dedicated her career to helping individuals and organizations master confidence, presence, and the professional excellence. Born and raised in the UAE, Israa holds a master's degree in leadership and human resource management and has earned numerous certifications in etiquette, protocol, coaching, and behavioral assessment. She has successfully led projects across the GCC, working with executive leaders, government entities, and even royal households. What makes Israa's work so compelling is that she doesn't simply teach manners or formalities. She helps people understand the subtle signals they send, the cultural cues they may be missing, and the unwritten rules that influence credibility, trust, and professional success. Through her training, workshops, and speaking engagements, she empowers people to show up with confidence and courtesy while remaining authentic to who they are. Today, we're diving into a fascinating conversation titled, The Unwritten Rules You're Expected to Know. We'll explore first impressions, executive presence, cultural intelligence, and why there is often a gap between who we believe we are and how others experience us. So whether you're a young professional trying to navigate the workplace, a leader seeking to elevate your influence, or simply someone who wants to better understand the power of human connection, this conversation is for you. Please join me in welcoming the incredibly insightful and inspiring Israa Shaheen.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Oh my God, I love the introduction. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
You made my heart dance while you're speaking.
I made your heart dance. That is the purpose of this podcast, to be honest. When I did my research, because I really delve in, when I'm dedicated to representing a guest to the best of my ability, I dive in.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed with your approach to what you teach, how you teach it, and the necessity of it in society these days. So I thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
It's going to be such a great episode.
Yeah.
So as we begin, I wanted you to share a little bit about yourself and why this journey, why etiquette, why protocol?
First of all, everything you said, I'm not gonna introduce myself better than that. Why etiquette and protocol? It all started around 11 years ago. I had a full-time job, an office job, and I wanted something more interactive, more people-centered. I used to work with documents and policies and the Ministry of Higher Education, and it was too rigid and heavy. And there wasn't much human interaction in it, to be very honest with you. And I'm a people's person. So I just wanted something more interactive, more lively. And I decided to enter the whole training field. The best advice I ever had by Dr. Vidya, she was handling the training department at the university I worked at. She said, just find your niche. And to be very honest with you, back then I didn't know the word niche, what it means. So I just literally asked her, what do you mean, doctor? What is a niche? And she explained. And from there, I just started looking around, doing some search on Google. We didn't have ChatGPT back then, no AI. So I just did Google some specific topics that I can train. And then I went to my bookshelves at home and I found a book called the Etiquette book. It was gifted to me by my brother around 6 years earlier. I already read it, but then when I saw it again, I'm like, is this a book or is this a topic that people would train, or is it something you just read about? I did some more research and I figured out that there are schools around Europe teaching etiquette, finishing schools actually, and the same in the States. And we had almost none of that in this region. So I just decided to go ahead and look into it, dig deeper, and I just fell in love with the whole topic.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how impactful it is.
Yes.
Because of the fact that people don't necessarily feel that it is something required, something
Yes.
necessity, some kind of a necessity when it comes to a professional career, or in the professional setting more so than anything, to know that there are etiquette rules
Yeah.
when it comes to relationship building, when it comes to professional entities and settings and what have you. So it's brilliant what you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. What inspired you to dedicate that particular work at that stage in your life? Because it's obvious you pivoted.
I did.
Hence the title of the show,
Yes.
Pivot Mode.
Yeah.
So that pivot moment, what exactly was it for you?
I believe that all what I wanted is to work with people. I've always been interested in people or human behavior. I've always been very observant of human behavior, and I wanted to work with people and help them see see things that they cannot see from their own perspective or own angle, and then help them to understand that there is a gap, as you said, between how you are perceived and who you are. And I could see it. I could tell that people are not very aware of how they are perceived. Hence, I just felt that this is the way to enter the whole world of human behavior. I do understand that psychology is very important, for example, but I wanted to work on people from the outside. How do you behave around others? And I've always had a thing for feeling certain. I somehow shy away from situations where I'm uncertain. So I felt that this is where I want to reflect on everyone else. I want people to feel more certain when they are at specific situations. So by applying etiquette and protocol, you're just more certain about, for example, what you're going to wear to a specific event, how you're going to introduce yourself. When you meet someone with a specific title, what form of address do you use? All of that will give you more certainty. Hence, it will elevate and raise your self-confidence. You'll be more confident around others. So I believe that this is one of the main points that I really concentrate on when I work with others.
And I love that connection that you make, that at the end of the day, it elevates your confidence.
Yes.
Right? Because that's a major, major component that I don't think is emphasized upon enough.
Yeah.
The way you walk into a place, the way you present yourself, what you wear, how you conduct yourself in the room, it's a huge, huge, personality indicator.
Yes.
And the conflict with that, and it'll be great for you to rebuttal on that, is I do not believe in not being myself. People need to accept me for who I am.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the challenge is.
Of course.
In really enforcing the importance of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always say I do not agree with the advice of be yourself. Be yourself. But when you're around people that are too close to you, when you're with your family, maybe when you're at home, I always advise people to be your best self when you're around others. Because after all, we all create impressions, and we all leave impressions all the time. If someone comes and tell you, I don't judge others, they're actually lying, because we are all wired in a way to judge others. I'm not saying that the judgment of or the impression is fair. Sometimes it's unfair. It's too quick. But again, if you're being yourself, then you need to handle the consequences of what happens next when people perceive you in a way that you're not happy with. You're not happy with the perception you left on others. So be your best self, because again, you cannot be the same. You cannot wear the same outfit or the same clothes or accessories or whatever you're wearing wherever you go. Some people would come and say, yeah, but the specific CEO, he goes to all his meetings in a black t-shirt and jeans. Okay, good for him. But what if he was called to the court for any reason? Will they go in a black t-shirt and jeans, or do they have to dress up for the court? Right? Because at the court, you need to respect the dress code, and you need to leave the impression that will help you defend your situation. So again, everyone is taking an impression based on what you're wearing. And the same goes for behavior, of course.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, why do you think so many capable, talented people are being overlooked despite having the right skills, the right professions, the right preparations? Some of them are being overlooked because of that perception.
Yes.
And I understand the unfortunate outcome of that. However, that is the reality.
Yeah.
And do you think that is an issue, that they're being overlooked in spite of skills?
Because again, before you meet someone, it's not your skills that they're being taken into consideration, right? So before I meet someone, what do? I Google them, I chat GPT them, I check them on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn or on social media, the first thing that speaks for you is not your skills. It's not your certificates. It's your online behavior, is how you're presenting yourself on LinkedIn. What kind of a display picture are you using? The kind of comments and likes, because it all shows, right, when you check someone's profile. So the kind of comments you're leaving around, the kind of likes or the kind of posts you're liking, all of that adds to an impression I'm creating about you before I even meet you. So it's not only your skills. So when I go and check someone before I meet them online and I find out, for example, that their profile is so outdated, that's an impression, right? Or if you check their Instagram and it doesn't align with the persona that they created for themselves online on LinkedIn, for example. Or if your whole persona and personal branding online is not aligned with your real self when I meet you in person. So I will feel that there's something not genuine about the
disconnect.
Yeah. And all of that has nothing to do with your skills. We didn't go towards what do you know, where did you get your certificate, what industry you're working in. All of that is personal.
Wow. And it's so true what you say, because this generation coming up, I'm the mother of Gen Zs, and my daughters are in that circle, right? Two professionals. And my husband and I really drill them into making sure that their social media, footprint, the way they present themselves online, their digital footprint is a replica of who they are and how they were raised and how they present themselves. And it's such a big issue with this generation. They've had the great exposure of being so visible. However, that can also hinder their advancement in life.
100%. Yes, they spend lots of time online, and it does reflect on who they are in real life. And what's happening with the new generation is the total opposite of what happened with us. So we are in real life all the time. So the moment we were exposed to online, we figured out that, okay, there is another self online and I need to align it with what's happening in real life. The total opposite is what's happening with Gen Z and Gen Alpha as well. They're spending most of their time online. Hence, I believe they need to invest more and work more on their human interaction and human skills. Because again, it's a different world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I actually labeled the podcast my love letter to the generations behind me.
That's so beautiful.
For that reason.
Yeah.
Because it's a sense of love and concern and wanting best for them that we all who are having these conversations are aiming for them to get out of our conversations, right?
Of course.
Where it's not nagging. It's not that we're old fashioned and we're outdated. No. We understand how society works.
Yeah.
And how important it is for you to understand your role in that.
That's so true.
Yeah. So in your guide, you're being misread, which I love the title. What does it actually mean to be misread?
When you have a message that you want to put out in the world, but others are getting the message or they're understanding something else from what you're giving out. So the perception is not the same as the message you're trying to put out there. Why? Because you have a personality, you're carrying yourself in a way, you're just being yourself. However, when someone else reads you, they're getting a different message. For example, one of the points I talk about in the guide, you're being misread. It's about when you walk into a place. Some people would just walk and find a chair and sit. They don't read the room. They don't look at who is there. Maybe someone you actually care about meeting is sitting there. Maybe something is happening. Maybe there's a VIP. Maybe the president of the country is at the coffee shop that you just walked in. Some people are just so, I wouldn't say self-centered, but they're just not looking around them enough because he's just being himself, getting his work done, walking into a space, choosing a chair and a seat and just take a seat and open their laptop. So the message you're putting out there, okay, you're busy, you're in a hurry, what are people perceiving is not the same as what you're trying to tell them. So some people would think that, okay, they're not looking around, they're not aware of their surrounding and so on. So that gap is what I mean by you're being misread.
And I love the fact that you mentioned reading the room.
Yeah.
That is such a poignant remark and such an important, I guess, behavior to walk into any area with.
Yes.
Because what's happening is, just like you said, people are so busy being themselves that they miss out on signals around
100%.
them. And to me, that is the most unbeneficial thing that you can do, for the simple fact that it puts you in a position that you might not have wanted to be in.
That's right.
But that is the signal that you sent.
Let alone that most of us are busy on our phones most of the time. So you're not aware of your surroundings. Again, whether you're driving, whether you're walking down the street, whether you're entering a meeting room, everyone is preoccupied by their phones.
Yeah.
So you have no idea what's happening around you. You're not giving yourself the chance to read the room. Right?
So true. That is so true. Now, can someone unintentionally sabotage opportunities simply because they don't understand how they're being perceived? So they're sabotaging their own opportunities.
Yeah.
Because of that lack of understanding perception.
Yes, definitely. Sometimes you're not aware that people are reading you different than what you're trying to tell them, and you just assume that everyone have the same perception, or we think the same. So we don't all analyze what's happening the same way. There are cultural differences, there are personality differences. Not everyone think the same. So when you're around a different culture, you need to understand that they have different rules. What's acceptable and what's expected from you is different when you're Europe or when you're in the Middle East, right? So you need to understand that culture affects how people perceive you. Even communication, we have some nations that they are direct communicators and others are indirect. So for us, for Arabs, as indirect communicators, we have small talk. We have to use or to have some small talk before we enter to the main topic and discuss it. Whether it's a meeting, whether it's us meeting before a podcast, there is small talk. Other nations who communicate directly, they don't do that. They just meet and go directly into the point. So if you don't understand, or if you're not aware that there is a difference in cultures and perception, you'll just assume that a direct communicator is not respecting you. He just meets you, say good morning, go directly to the topic you want to discuss. And for me, as an indirect communicator, I'll just think that how rude of them. They didn't ask me how am I, how was my trip down here. For them, they're just being themselves. They're applying the way they communicate. So that gap, if you're not aware of it, yes, you will end up missing some opportunities.
Yeah, and that's why I always encourage people to travel.
Oh, yes.
Oh my goodness.
Definitely.
We cannot emphasize that enough.
Definitely.
In order for you to be exposed to different cultures, different people, different approaches, different rituals, different, behaviors,
Yes.
so that you can become a well-rounded person.
Especially if you don't live in a country like here. So in the UAE, we are very lucky and blessed that we live in a melting pot.
Huge melting
You
pot.
are exposed to all cultures in one place. I'm not saying don't travel, but we are already blessed by that exposure.
Yeah.
But imagine if someone lives in a country where they don't have that number of nationalities living in the same country. Some people have never met Arabs in their life. Some people have never met someone from India, for example. They have no idea how Indians communicate or eat or dress because they've never exposed to them.
Yeah.
So imagine if they never travel, how much they're missing on.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. The growth that comes with traveling
definitely.
and being exposed to different cultures. And that's one of the things that I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
Coming here. I moved here 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And although I'm from New York, where it is also a melting pot, don't get me wrong, but it's just a different approach to appreciation of the different cultures.
Very true.
Whereas here, it is so ingrained in you of appreciating and getting to know and forget the food, enjoying all the different dishes and what have you. So you really internalize it here.
And here you get to interact with everyone.
Exactly.
It's not like we only live in the same country. You're interacting with them on a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
At events, at work, in Ramadan, you get invited to places, to iftar, you get exposed to culture, to rituals. You had no idea about them while you were in the States, right?
None whatsoever.
So yeah, that's the beauty of it.
So I've grown immensely.
That's amazing.
I am so grateful to the country for that. Now, what's one unwritten rule that every young professional should know, but is almost never taught? Either at home or at school or in training. It's never taught, but it's one that you would definitely say they need to know.
I would say first impression is created in way less than the time you think it is. Some people can create a first impression about you in less than a second. And it is all based on a couple of factors, and you can control all of them. So some people would think that first impression is uncontrollable. You can actually control the first impression you're leaving on people. And I would say it's unwritten because many people would think that, okay, you walk around, you enter a room and people create impressions about you, and that's not in my hands to control. It actually is. If you're aware of what you're wearing, if you think about where you're going and you decide what you're going to wear based on the message you want to put out there, if you're aware of your body language and facial expression, the way you shook someone's hand and introduce yourself, you just controlled 100% of the first impression you're leaving on others. It's as simple as that.
That is so powerful.
It does need work.
Yeah.
It does need lots of work.
Practice.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But it's doable, right?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you are in control of that perception at the end of the day.
Yes.
And people have a tendency to want to cop out of that and say, you know what, it had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
No, it had everything to do with you.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of, like we said at the beginning of the conversation, of you relinquishing being yourself. Yeah. That's not the point. That's not the point. You live in a global environment.
You're around people all the time.
You're around people. You want to be able to sustain and to maintain yourself and your character in any environment and situation. And it's great to have professionals like you to teach that.
Yes.
And how important it is, because it's not taught at school.
No.
It's not taught at school.
No, unfortunately not. Very recently, I started to work with some schools, actually, but it's not there in the curriculum, right? It's like extra.
Yeah.
It's extra sessions, going
After
there as a guest, for
yeah.
example, or going there as a guest speaker, talking to the students about something, especially the ones who are in high school, yes, before they go to have some interviews to enter some universities or to go for an internship and so on. But no, it's not taught at school, not
Yeah.
at all.
Where I think
Yeah.
it's so essential, especially for the graduating class that is going to enter the real world.
yes.
It would have been so great for them to have at least a year
Yeah, definitely.
of Miss Israa. You would turn into part of the faculty.
Totally, I believe in that. And
As part of their,
even if it's not a whole like topic, it can at least raise their awareness that there is that room for improvement. There is this kind of work you need to put in some effort and time to get the outcome you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, have you ever witnessed someone's career trajectory change dramatically because they just didn't understand the subtle social cues?
I actually did, especially with people who get relocated. So sometimes you relocated to the UAE 4 years ago. So imagine if you had no idea about the culture here, about how business is run, and then you just threw yourself into the whole work environment, and you decided to be, you know what, I'm gonna be myself. You'll end up unfortunately disrespecting many people, losing some opportunities, and then being misunderstood all the time. And if you're just someone who's going to give up, you're going to say, oh, they didn't understand me. They didn't like me. They don't like dealing with outsiders. And the blame game. Or you'll be like, I'm entering a new culture. I need to learn at least about them. So believe it or not, I think back in 2020, I had to fly to Estonia because there was a client there, and that was one of the out of the blue projects I worked on. They wanted to learn about the Emirati culture before they fly into Dubai for Expo 2020. They know that they're visiting Expo 2020. They know that there is a huge cultural difference between the UAE and Estonia, and they wanted to learn because they wanted to know what's expected from them and what's acceptable and what's not. That is a client that they do believe in the effort that they need to put in to learn about others.
Absolutely. That was very progressive.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And when I came to know about the project, I'm like, with all the work I do, I was impressed, honestly. I was truly impressed. So yes, it can make you or break you as a career, whether you're aware of the kind of etiquette and protocol you need or you're just not aware of it.
Yeah, and it's such a great message to send to the generations that are coming up so that they could put the work in, and it'll be fruitful towards the end.
And it's not very difficult to learn.
It's not.
It's human nature after all.
Connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm working with human behavior. I'm just telling you what to do, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, how to respect others, how to respect yourself, how to be more certain about your environment, about your behavior, about your actions and words before you step into a new place or into a new role.
It's a necessity.
I believe so.
Yeah. Now, how much of professional success is determined by competence versus perception?
There is a Harvard study that I read a while ago. It says that 85% of your success is based on, they call it soft skills, and 15% is based on technical skills. I'm not saying you don't need your technical skills, but if you have the technical skills that it takes to get a job, however, you don't know how to present yourself, you're not aware about the need of presentation skills, you're not aware about how you should dress, what's the dress code, how you interact with others, how do you respect the workspace. Will anyone want to work with you, even internally in the same company? Will you be that team player that everyone wants to work with? Or will you be the team player or the team member that everyone's like, oh no, I don't want him on my team. He has terrible communication. Exactly. Yeah. He doesn't know how to communicate, or he doesn't respect others in meetings, or, he just belittles everyone during a conversation. He's not good at brainstorming. All of that takes soft skills for you to be able to do the job and to apply the technical skills that you already have. So it's your way in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. And that connection that we speak of, it all relies on the behavioral aspect of that human connection.
Yes.
It could either make or break you.
Definitely.
Why are first impressions so difficult to overcome even when they're inaccurate?
Okay, so if you look at it from a psychological point of view, we are all wired to make judgments and first impression about others, because long time ago at the beginning of the human race. We never know if someone is approaching us. Do they have a good intent or a good intention? Are they going to harm us? Is it a friend? Is it an enemy? So we are wired to scan and judge. That's the main, because it's a survival need, right? It's a necessity. Fast forward to today, we're still wired the same way. However, we're using it differently. So we still do scan everyone, but it's not for survival. We're going to survive. I don't have any doubts if someone is going to they want to harm me or not. But I'm still scanning and judging. I'm judging likability. Do I like them or not? Are they trustworthy or not? Are they professional or not? Is it someone I'm willing to sit and talk to? Whether it's in a social environment or professional environment, you're still scanning. So the moment your brain scans someone and make that judgment, it's embedded in you. All the behavior that comes after the first impression, it can either be a proof that your first impression is correct, or it will tell you that actually that wasn't so fair of you. Apparently they are nicer than what you thought. Apparently they're more trustworthy. But the thing is, you can control that first impression. It takes way less time and effort to work on that few seconds rather than trying to fix that first impression on the long run.
Exactly.
If you get the chance. Sometimes we have a chance for a first impression and that's it.
That's it.
You
just
never meet the person again.
Yeah.
If you get the chance, you need to put way more work and effort to fix that first impression that you just left.
Yeah. You had me thinking for a minute there.
Yeah.
Like it's registering, and it's such an important message to send. Such an important message to send. And as I said, I'm from New York, and it's a different, and there's a reason why we call it the concrete jungle. It's because life has hardened people so much in that area of the world that softness is gone. Right? That the hard shell that life has bestowed upon New Yorkers is so misconstrued and so misinterpreted. And it's because of that reason. You know, they have no choice but to, and I say they, I'm included in it because I was raised there, that hard shell that you put on is a protective mechanism.
That's true.
So to be able to shed that and understand the skills that you are teaching is so important. It's so important.
You know, Valerie, what just crossed my mind is that I always say that the golden rule in etiquette is taking into consideration the emotions and feelings of the person in front of you before you speak or act. So before I say anything or act in a specific way, I need to understand and take into consideration how will my words or action make you feel. So if I don't have that in me, you won't be able to apply etiquette actually. If you're only thinking about yourself, about what you want to get done, about what you're going to say, about everything about you, and you're not taking into consideration the person in front of you, you cannot be able to apply etiquette, unfortunately.
It's so true, and I love that you said it that way. But the argument with that would be, which is something that I am labeled as, is an overthinker. Why should we think about everybody and every situation, and where can't we just be ourselves?
Because it's an ecosystem. We live in a society. We're not alone. We're not isolated. We're not indoors by ourselves in our homes all the time, even if you're behind a screen. That's why you see lots of bullying online, because everyone is hiding behind the screen. So they think that if I'm bullying someone online, they don't exist. There's another human being behind the screen. Yeah. You're not alone, even if you're behind the screen.
Yeah, that's such a powerful way to put it. That's such a powerful way to put it. Now, you speak of presence. What does executive presence actually look like beyond dressing well and speaking confidently? Because that's another thing with leadership. It's so important for the generation that's coming up into the workforce to learn from the leaders that are, leading them in their careers. So how do you, the presence in leadership and the etiquette that you're teaching?
When it comes to executive presence, it's not only about what you wear or how you speak or how you communicate. It's how do you make people feel when you're there? Do they trust you? How do you talk to people when you are the leader in a meeting room? Do you listen to them? Or are you there just to give orders and manage others? How connected are you to them? Are you approachable, or do they just try to avoid approaching you and coming to you with a problem or with a solution or with an idea? That is leadership. That is executive presence. It's not only about being the leader and people following you. Yes, every leader has followers, but that's not leadership. Especially when we talk about, we have different kinds of leadership. I don't do work in leadership specifically, but executive presence is something everyone needs, not only leaders. Executive presence is your presence in that professional area and the professional workplace, and how do people perceive you based on everything. Even communication and how you show up and how you carry yourself around and how do you deal with others. Do you know who's a VIP and who's not? Do you respect people only because they're VIPs? Or do you actually respect everyone? But at the same time, you need to know who is who. Even if it's, for example, people who work in events, you need to have an executive presence and you need to understand who is who, because everyone gets a different treatment based on their level, not a different level of respect, but a different treatment. So there comes the protocol, of course, not only etiquette. So this is where they need protocol as well.
For sure. And I love the way you put that executive presence, it's not strictly just for leaders.
No.
So to understand that as a professional, you have an executive presence to bestow on everybody that you come across.
Especially if you want to influence.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. What are some of the nonverbal signals that communicate credibility before someone even says a word?
Body language, body language, body language. You can tell a lot by someone's body language, how they're sitting, how confident they look like, their facial expression, where they're placing their hands while they're talking. If there's a dining table, where do you place your hands? Are you confident or not? The eye contact when you talk to someone, how you're looking at them. Are you looking around all the time or not? All of that. If I look at my watch while I'm talking to you, what happens?
It's such a big signal.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you a lot by not saying that I'm in a rush, for example.
Yeah.
Or if I have my phone in my hand, what does that tell you? Body language is a language by itself.
Yeah.
And of course, if your words are not aligned with your body language, everyone will believe your body language. So
Over your word.
Oh, yes. 100%.
Wow.
Yeah. If your words are not aligned with your body language and your facial expression and your tone, I will believe everything other than your words. That's how we are wired. And that's why a mother knows that a child is lying, right?
It's so true.
You're a mother, you know that.
That is so true.
Yeah? That's why
true.
you know when someone is
We pick
lying.
up on the body language
yeah.
way before you say a single word.
You will stop listening to the words because you're like, they're not saying the truth. Yeah, right?
That is so true.
You want someone to believe you, your body language needs to align with your words. Other than that, you're not trustworthy for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is such an important message to send. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now, how do cultural differences complicate these unwritten rules, especially in today's global workplace?
What a beautiful question. Cultural differences have everything to do with understanding others because it goes into how you greet someone. How do you shake their hand? Do you shake their hand or not? That goes to cultural differences between one culture and another. How do you communicate with them? How do you write your emails? What's acceptable in an email or not? All of that is based on culture.
That is so true. Yeah. That is so true. And how different cultures approach things differently.
Oh, yes.
And how it's important to identify the differences in order for everybody to coexist. That's the thing. It's the coexistence.
100%. And even on something as simple as time, your approach to time is based on your culture. Because some cultures, when you say we're meeting at 5, they will show up at 4:45. They're not early. This is on time for them. And other cultures will arrive they will show up 10 minutes late thinking that it's okay. So even your approach to time is based on your culture. Of course, professionally, you need to be on time. But I'm telling you the differences. And when I say that the meeting is 30 minutes, in some cultures, those 30 minutes can go up to 1 hour.
1 hour.
Because they have lots of small talk at the beginning and they just take forever to start discussing the
so
main
true.
topic.
Yeah.
While others, when it's 30 minutes, at the mark of 29 minutes, they will just wrap up because they're always on time. If you ever worked with Japanese people, their approach to time is the best in the world. They
best.
respect time over everything else.
I've actually witnessed that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable and inspiring, to be honest.
I do believe we have a lot to learn. And when I say we, everyone in the world have a lot to learn from Japanese.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel the same way from their approach to life and their philosophies, their exercise.
Oh, yes.
It's so true. It's a fascinating,
it's a beautiful
fascinating
nation,
culture.
yes.
Absolutely. Now, share a transformative episode that you've had with a client where you poured into them the amazing knowledge that you have, and it was a success story. So share that success story.
You know, one of my favorite success stories is a lady that attended a training with me on etiquette and protocol. She's Saudi.
Okay.
And it was an online training. It was during COVID.
Okay.
Couple of years later, maybe 2-3 years later, I went on another training to deliver it in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And I met her. She recognized me, just like what happened earlier
today.
She recognized me because it was online and I had my camera open and she had her camera closed, so I didn't know who she is. She introduced herself and she said, Coach Israa, I want to tell you that I pivoted. I did a career shift and I specialized in etiquette and protocol. I'm like, I felt like a proud parent, you know? Like, I'm not a parent myself, but I'm like, I felt like a proud parent. Like, is that so? Are you serious? She said, yes. After that training, the whole topic stayed in my mind. And I felt that I don't only want to learn about it, I want to teach about it.
Wow.
And what she did beautifully is that she aligned it with the Saudi culture to make sure that she's delivering the training in a cultural way that is aligned with everything that is different in this part of the world, obviously. This success story is one of my favorite in what I witnessed, because I felt that not only it affected her in a positive way, it actually inspired her to do the whole career shift to training and to specializing in something I'm doing as well.
Wow.
That was a proud moment.
That is your stamp. That is amazing. And it's good that you had such an impact.
Oh, yes.
Right? And you can't put a cost on that. You can't put a price on that. I say that all the time.
And you wouldn't know it's going to happen. It was literally an online training for a couple of days where she actually had her camera off. I didn't know her. I don't know what's happening behind that camera.
Wow, you just gave me goosebumps. Oh. What are some common behaviors that people believe make them appear confident, but actually undermine their credibility?
People who raise their voices.
Mm.
Oh, yes. I have something against that. Yeah. You know, when someone wants to prove themselves that they're confident, I know what I'm talking about, I want to control the room, and they raise their voice. It doesn't tell me you're confident. It tells me that you actually raise your voice because you can't get people to listen to you. You don't have enough influence for people to listen. So you just raise your voice. This is one of the things that people do, thinking that it will make them look or sound more confident rather than a bit shaky, for example. This is the one that comes to my mind the moment you ask the question.
Wow, that is so powerful to say, because it's so true. The elevation of the voice and the that, to me, that escalates a situation more than anything.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
Now, and I'm so happy you said that, because it triggered another question for me. How are your protocol and etiquette lessons with men who do, right, just up from nature and physiologically are geared towards raising the voice in order to gain respect and to own a space?
Yeah, that's right.
So how has your training been with men?
Men, believe it or not, in corporate, usually whoever is attending my trainings are more men rather than women
That
in
is-
corporate.
That is so wonderful to hear.
Yeah, but when someone wants to work on themselves one-on-one, it's usually women more
For
than
sure, I can see
women
that.
more than
But
men.
it's
Yes.
so inspiring to hear that
Yeah.
men are open to that in the
They
corporate
are,
world.
yes, they are. Because again, they know that regardless of how much technical skills you have or experience you have, they need to work on that part of their personality and their presence to be able to reach more places. So I always say what got you here will not get you there. So maybe you got to a level of success and you felt that there is this block, or maybe you are getting a promotion to a level where you're not very confident that you can handle, not because you don't have the technical skills or the experience, but because you don't have the presence that can help you or support you in that level. But going back to your question about how do I train them. So when we talk about communication from an etiquette point of view and from a communication point of view, we always talk about how much your voice and tone has to do with the message you're trying to convey. So when I'm trying to convey a message, we have my words, my body language, and facial expression, obviously, and my tone, my voice. So we talk about that part because, again, as I told you, if your voice and your tone is not aligned with your words, I'm going to believe your voice, not your words. So I always come to them from that technical point of view rather than talking emotionally to men and telling them that when you raise your voice, others will not want to work with you. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they want to avoid. We don't talk much in emotional side or emotional intelligence, rather than communicating to them things from the way they look at it from a technical point of view with research, with data, for them to believe what I'm saying and to understand it and to absorb it as well.
Which is such a great approach. Yeah.
You need to speak their language, right?
For sure. For sure. Or else you will completely lose them.
Yeah.
So it's such a great way to approach them where they're at. So meet them
Definitely.
where they're at.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
when my audience is all women, we talk about things
Totally
from
different approach,
a totally
right?
different lens.
I
Extremely
can only
different.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I respect and appreciate that you can switch it accordingly and impact each group respectively.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. You have to do that. Other than that,
They'll
you
miss the
won't-
point.
You won't be able to convey your message.
For
right?
sure, for sure. How can someone determine whether they are being authentic or simply unaware of how they are coming across?
That's an interesting question. Authentic or unaware?
Or unaware? Because
Yeah, some people would argue that if I'm applying etiquette, I'm not being authentic. It takes me back to being yourself. However, you can be authentic at the same time respecting others around you, right? You need to be aware of others, of their existence, of their needs, of the communication you're doing with them, for you to be authentic at the same time. Being authentic doesn't mean that it's my way or the highway. That doesn't work that way, right?
so true.
Again, we live in a society. You cannot just exclude everyone and say, I'm being authentic. Yes, be authentic in your personal branding online. Use the colors that align with your message. Use the tone of voice that you want in your messaging. No one can tell you there is right and wrong in that, as long as you're respecting everyone.
Exactly.
This is where I want you to be authentic. For example, you're invited to an event, there's a dress code. I want to be authentic. I follow that dress code and I add my own element to it, my own style to it. Maybe I love to wear a scarf on my neck wherever I go. The dress code is a specific dress code that it has colors, it has, I don't know, maybe it's a business casual. Follow that and add your element, your personal element. You're being authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
You can be authentic by accepting or refusing to work with specific, I don't know, corporation or specific businesses that support causes you don't believe in. This is where you're authentic. But you cannot say that I don't want to apply etiquette because I want to be myself and I want to be authentic and I want to be true to myself. We can always find a way, a midway between both sides or both arguments.
Yeah, for sure. And to me, it at the end of the day, it will make you whole because it's obvious it's something that improves your life as opposed to suppresses it.
Yes.
So why would anybody want to fight that? But I can see people wanting to fight it.
I love that you said it can make you whole, because when I when I did specialize in etiquette and protocol for the first couple of years, I felt that I'm working on the outside of everyone, your outer shell, right? Later on, I felt that I want to work on someone's internal self. That's why I entered coaching. I did my whole ICF certificate because I wanted to work on someone 360, to be whole. So by entering the coaching space, I started working on people internally. And this is where I took etiquette and protocol towards executive presence. So this is where I introduced the whole executive presence to my work. I felt that by adding it and adding the coaching so I can work with clients one-on-one, because coaching is very different than training, by doing that, I became able to work with someone internally and externally. So when I talk to them about etiquette and executive presence, I need to understand what's happening inside them at the same time.
Yeah, so it's not just superficial.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
So that had to click for you. So you had to kind of pivot.
It took me some time.
Yeah.
Yes. It took me some time to understand that I need more depth to the work I'm doing.
You know, I love that approach, that you didn't just stay where it could have been easier to just do it superficially.
Definitely,
You
yes.
went in and said, I
Yes.
need to go deeper. And that's that says a lot about you and your heart and how much you pour into what you're doing. So on behalf of everybody, I thank you.
Thank you for seeing that in me.
Absolutely. As we're wrapping up, I just had one more conversation, one more question in our conversation. And I know we approached it that we say that we believe that schools and universities should implement this. And in an era dominated by social media and remote work, are the unwritten rules changing or becoming even more important?
I would say they're evolving, not changing. Yes,
Got
they
it.
are evolving,
Got it.
especially with the online era. I believe the whole online world changed starting from COVID year. So 2019, 2020, everything shifted, everything evolved. And since then, we have something called netiquette, which is network etiquette, which is your behavior online. Because, you know, everyone went online for their meetings. Everything
School,
happened on
meetings,
Teams
everything.
and Zoom. And
doctor's appointments,
Right?
everything.
And then we started noticing the weird behavior human beings have because they think I'm working from home. I can wear whatever I want. I can start smoking while I'm on a call.
Yeah.
This is where I
to
actually,
drop. I know.
we needed someone to interfere and just say, this cannot keep going on.
Yeah.
And this is where the whole concept of netiquette came in.
I never heard of that.
It's the N for network. It's network etiquette. So
love it.
netiquette. And the whole world of etiquette evolved, I would say. And as you said, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they're exposed online. They need to learn about their online behavior. They need to be aware that they're leaving impression online, whether it's through social media. I do actually work with content creators, especially the newer generation, because they're getting more opportunities at a very early stage.
Young age, yep.
You wouldn't expect someone who's 19 speaking on an international stage because he's a YouTuber with a couple of million followers or subscribers. And this is where they end up being in a situation where he is receiving an award from a VVIP and he doesn't know how to behave. Or he's in an interview or in a podcast and he doesn't know what he's supposed to wear or what he's supposed to say. So this is where I start working with content creators to shape their behavior, because they got there at an early stage, basically.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And the necessity is there.
Yes,
It
definitely.
is. It really is.
Definitely.
As we wrap up the show, which I hate that it's coming to an end.
I didn't feel the time, actually.
Right? That's
too,
when we're having fun. Right? Because it was great. It was a great conversation in the sense of just how important it is, how necessary it is, and how much I think we put it on the back burner. It's not something that's spoken of every day on a
Not
daily,
really.
in a regular conversation of the importance of etiquette, and especially in the professional setting. So I'm glad we tackled it, and it's just the beginning.
Yes.
It's just the beginning. You're stuck with me is what I usually say to my guests.
We have a lot to discuss.
We have so much to discuss, and the passion that exists in the conversation is palpable. So we definitely have to pursue it. But as we close, I have a tradition in the podcast where I will shoot 5, rapid choice words to you, and you
Okay.
have to tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
First thing, without thinking. So here we go. Protocol.
VVIPs.
Oh,
Mm.
good.
Yeah.
Inner strength.
Confidence. Self-confidence.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So good. Superpower.
Soft power.
I love that. Right? We don't have to be hard and the entire time. There's so much that could come from softness
Soft power.
that leaves so much impression.
I love that term. I introduced it very recently to my work, especially with women.
Awesome.
Soft power.
Soft power. Because I also believe in soft life. Like I have a soft morning every once in a while. I'm like, nope. I may be running late. I'm having a soft morning.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that you introduced that into your work. Soft power, right? Is what you say.
Yes.
I'm going to use it. Influence.
Influencers, online influencers, content creators.
And how powerful they can be, right? Calling.
Improvement of human behavior.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so good. And I purposely chose calling at the end because I could feel that is exactly what your second, the second wind of your life has been.
Yes,
that it was
I
a
do
calling.
believe that everyone has a calling and it's not easy to find it or to figure it out.
Exactly.
You just need to listen.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
Believe in the signs, follow them, listen.
And listen.
And pivot.
And pivot, exactly. And listen, you did very well because you saw the gap, you felt that there was something missing, and just your natural, not only your natural talent, but your natural gift was to combine your expertise with the softness of who you are, and people are benefiting from it.
Happy to hear that.
Oh my gosh, they are. And so many people need to benefit from it.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Please continue what you're doing. Please do not let Pivot Mode be a stranger.
Oh no,
any conversation you want to have, we will tackle it here.
This is definitely the first, but not the last one.
Absolutely. But thank you again for joining us. It has been an honor. Continue the great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Valerie.
It is needed. As always, the guest on this podcast is part of the fabric of the global message that I want to share as a love letter to the generations that come after me. As being a woman in my 50s, I'm enjoying my 50s, don't get me wrong. However, I feel that there's a legacy and there are messages and there are blueprints that we need to put out there for the generations that are coming up. It is our responsibility, as a matter of fact. So I use this podcast as that vessel. And in having great, conversations and bringing in amazing guests such as Israa today, just validate exactly what my goal and my mission is. And with that, we say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining. And do not forget, share, comment, share the conversations that you would love to have appear on the podcast. Please, that is my mission as well, to hear from my audience and see exactly what conversations we want to have. What are you lacking? What are you missing? What do you want to hear more of in order for us to pour into you? So without further ado, thank you so much and continue to support Pivot Mode. On that note, stay in Pivot Mode.